With the crash my runs, that's not bad.
The next round. Next we should be seeing Emma Zakaris and Olivia Silva. Emma's in the red course right now. They are about halfway down, getting ready to enter that fast straight section. And it looks like Emma has gone down on the red course. You know, the other thing with dual slalom racing, the racers can hear us. So whenever Olivia hears us say that her competitor has gone down, she can actually back off just a little bit sometimes because she's more than likely going to get that 1.5 second advantage going into run number 2. It's funny you say the racers can hear us because there are definitively some racers that listen to every word that's said about them on the hill, and others get in the zone. Running a bit wide, there's a very large hole on that.
The shadow's so
second to last corner, so riders typically having to run a bit wide and take an extra bit of distance in the outside lane. Going back to the top on the red course, Gaza Rogers, and on the blue course, Jordy Scott. Neck and neck coming through those holes down the fast stretch. Well, speaking of another queen of crankworks, Jordy Scott, your defending queen of crankworks right now, and a multi-time dual slalom winner. Her and Martha Gill trade wins, it seems like, at every slalom race all over the world. This Scott will get to the line first. The advantage over Rogers, .246. 246, the advantage for Scott. Another bye round here for Miranda Maliska on the blue course. Looks like she's taking it easy there. We do want to continue to welcome all of our spectators on site here.
VIP
Up on course, Sophie Allen, another bye run here on the blue course. Let's hear for Sophie Allen, ladies and gentlemen. I think my favorite part about cheering for Sophie Allen is the fact that she decided to become a enduro and downhill mountain bike racer growing up in South Florida, where I don't think they have the word mountain in their vocabulary. I think they've got a couple of drawbridges, that's about all. Mountainous College and fell in love with mountain biking. Now she's out here in the elite women's ranks. Ray Ward now in the red lane. Emily Harris in the red. This is another one of our tight battles here. 23rd and 10th qualifier. Might have had something happen up on the top for Emily Harris. Looks like Pella Ward on the blue course is out to quite a lead. Yeah, and that is what we mentioned earlier. This course is a lot more of managing mistakes rather than really executing a quote-unquote perfect run on this course, because with this being a non-manicured flat turn track, every rider is going to change the course a little bit. They're going to blow out a rut. They're going to add more braking bumps. As we look at April Zastrow right now trying her hardest to make up some time against Chloe Bear in that blue lane. Chloe handled the top section really nicely, and she's on the gas. Both racers on the gas hard. These last two corners, a lot of action. Final third of the course pretty well. The advantage will be .866. .866, the advantage for Bear. You guys are in for a treat. The rider on course right now on the blue course, the legend of the Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom, Jill Kintner, taking a bye run. Mikey, Jill has seen it all, done it all, everything you can do in the sport of mountain biking. Well, not only in the sport of mountain biking, but specifically Kintner could write the Encyclopedia Britannica of what it means to be a champion for dual slalom. Well over 10 wins. I think she clocked in number 12 just at Sea Otter last year, and over 35 podiums here at Sea Otter over her career. Switching gears slightly, we've got our first men's heat up on the track. First and fastest qualifier, Nicholas Nesterov in the red course, Eric Olson on the blue course. Nick holding it down. Nick is a former champion here. Former champion, that's the championship DNA. Nicholas Nesterov knowing that he's got the advantage, knowing that Eric Olson's close, but saving energy here in these early rounds, knowing how much work he has later. With Devin DeBrule in the blue right now, Max Clark in the red. Win Masters looks like maybe in the blue right now. Another legend of the sport, not only for his on-track antics, but for everything that he's been doing to keep all of you at home abreast of what's happening. First run. Advantage goes to Masters, but not by much. .355 for Masters. Now we should be seeing Max Clark and Devin DeBrule. Remember Devin's qualification times yesterday. Both lanes within 1,000th of a second, just to show how even these racetracks are. Speaking of even racetracks, Sam, how about this? Shoulder to shoulder all the way to the line. On the gas. Both of the last two corners have been holding people up all morning today with the earlier racers. On track now, Ed Masters on the red course. G. Atherton on the blue course. So the advantage there for Max Clark, 0.541 of a second as we look at G. Atherton and Ed Masters, both former World Cup racers, both former champions in their own right, and they are mirror images of each other around this last few corners. Foot out for the toe ball. G keeping the feet in. Back up on the hill, Mitch Ruppalato and Daniel Wolf. Mitch is going to be on the red course, Daniel on the blue course. The rope-a-dope coming down. He knows how to race some flat corners. Well, the advantage there for G. Atherton, 0.657 as we take a look at Ropalato and the Big Bad Wolf. The pink bike specialist, big bike presenter right now, putting it to a top qualifier here in dual slalom. Dan Wolf is going to get to the... I'm sure he'll have something to say about that later, no doubt. All right, on the red course, Cody Kelly. On the blue course, Dylan Maples. I made a personal request to Cody to give us at least some of that signature Cody Kelly style on these flat corners throughout the day today. Well, just keep your eyes glued to those long blonde locks coming out the back of that Specialized helmet for Cody Kelly, but he's going to have to give chase right now. The Pivot Factory ride of Dylan Maples out of NorCal is showing he knows exactly what Dylan Maples. 0.688, 0.688 the advantage for Maples. As we go back to that advantage between Wolf and Ropalato, Wolf got rope-a-dope by 0.12. Back up on track on the red course, Emmett Hancock. On the blue course, the one and only, the legend, Kyle Strait. The big diesel is spooling. We got 2 more corners to go, and just watch the amount of horsepower that goes into those RE bikes. We'll start the clock, 0.444. On the red course now, Tommy Zula, and on the blue course, Nathan Kitchen. Little advantage to Nathan Kitchen on the blue course out of those first tricky corners. Yeah, this is going to be really exciting. You've got a downhill background versus a BMX background. Nate Kitchen on that new intense ride this year, throwing the rudder out. Oh, just as I say, Nate Kitchen goes down 1 corner from the end, and that corner that was catching out some of our expert racers earlier. Back up on track on the red course, Tegan Cruz. On the blue course, Seth Anderson. And looks like we've had another rider go down up top. That might have been Seth Anderson. So Tegan Cruz appears to be taking a little bit of an easier lap on the second half of the course. Well, Tegan is your number 3. Brown on the blue course, neck and neck coming through that first twisty off-camber section. Well, I know you asked the question earlier between flat pedals and clips. I can tell you this is one of our flat pedals win medals riders on course. Cody Johnson right now, oh, slipping a pedal. Speaking of those flat pedals, huge roots there, trying now to try and make up the gap by that little slide out on Max Brown. Austin Bubba Warren, and on the blue course, Tristan Lemire. Neck and neck again coming out of that tricky section, and down. There are some holes that have developed on that straight section this weekend. Oh, absolutely. This is turning more and more into a downhill style track than a slalom track. Riders already softening up their bikes, running softer tire pressures than you ever see. How about this, though? Tristan Lemire is putting it to Bubba Warren. Advantage, Tristan Lemire over Bubba Warren, 0.433. Up to the top of the track on the red course, John Simek, and on the blue course, Finn McDermott. Looks like the blue course, Finn McDermott has a little bit of an early lead. Not sure if John had a little bobble, but they are going to be tight coming into these last couple of corners. Remember, these last 2 corners are where the issues have been happening all day. Yeah, like as we mentioned, on that blue lane, there's a very large hole exiting. Red lane is very tight corner as well. There will be the advantage, 1.5 for McDermott. Shreddy Eddie Reynolds on course on the red course right now, and Fred LaRiviere on the blue course. Looks like a big advantage already for Fred. Something must have happened with Shreddy Eddie Reynolds. Well, Fred is your number 7 qualifier. I know we're used to seeing Eddie Reynolds at the pointy end of things here in dual slalom, but maybe just not quite enough berms for the flat pedal rider. So will be a 1.5 second advantage for Lavieri. A lot of Wilcox and a lot of 1.5s here. Yep, Canyon Wilcox on the red course, Luca Cometti on the blue course. A lot of maximum advantages throughout the day so far. Well, you're going to see that in these early rounds because you do have your fastest seated riders going against your slowest. And as we get into these rounds, all of these differentials are going to tighten up. Speaking of tightening up, how about that tidy line there from Luca Cometti on that final corner, going probably 2.5 feet inside of any rider we've seen so far. Greg Callahan coming from across the pond on the red course here today against Braden Bringhurst. One of our Utah boys doing all sorts of things with the Hard MTB League. Love seeing Braden putting in work all the time. Idaho, sorry. The Boise boy from Hard MTB League right now is showing what it means to train on that little bike. But how about that, Greg Callahan, the Irish rider, figuring out this dry dirt, a little chip over his shoulder. That's going to be too close to call there. .099, the advantage for Callahan, .099. Back to the top of the hill, red course, Blake Carney, and on the blue course, Tyler Wagner. Neck and neck so far at the halfway point. Wagner is a new rider here in our elite field. He's a junior racer last year with some amazing speed on track, now stepping up into the elite ranks. Absolutely put on a clinic on those laps.
Yeah, exactly.
9.759 the advantage for
Yeah,
Wagner.
and I'm way slower. Yeah.
Luca did get to the line first. The advantage won.
I know, but like
First runs, round of 32 here at the Fox Racing Pro Finals. Already wrapped up. Already on run 2. Kaylee Skelton on course. Kaylee's on course. She gave the crowd a heads up and a high five just a few minutes ago. Speaking of that crowd, Mikey, cast your gaze up to the top of the hill. Welcome everyone to the Lifetime Sea Otter Classic, and this is your Fox Racing Dual Slalom Elite Finals. And here we thought people wouldn't find us in the bowl over here outside of the festival area. Never discount mountain bike fans, especially here at the Lifetime Sea Otter Classic. As we look up the hill, Rachel Strait has a .791 advantage over Mayumi Wakefield. Mayumi in that blue lane, that bright red helmet of Rachel Strait in the red lane. Again, she's got about .8 of a second here that she needs to get to the line. Mayumi with a slight advantage going into these final corners. Rachel, though, pushing that big gear on her Ari Bikes ride. Mayumi looks like she might get to the line first. It's going to be close. .791. Mayumi gets to the line. She needed .79. She wins by .4. Not going to be enough. Rachel Strait will move on into the round of 16. Looking up the road here, we've got Taylor Oscar with a 1.5 second advantage on the red course over McKenna Merton on the blue course, and it's tight. McKenna has to make up 1.5 seconds, which is going to be tough to do. Are they going to both keep it on 2 wheels? Well, McKenna is definitely going to get to the line first. Taylor doing what she needs to do to try and manage that gap. It is enough. 1.5 was the advantage. Taylor will advance. Back up on course. Claire Feeney on the red course is needing to make up a 1 second disadvantage that she's got behind Morgan Sush. Morgan with that 1 second advantage, and it looks like she's extending that lead. She might be able to just cruise across this line and get ready for the next round. 2 more gates to go for Morgan, and she will be stamping her way into the round of 16. As we look back up the track, it looks like Aliana Van Horn is going to have her second bye run. She's going to put on a show for the crowd. And again, welcome to everybody here, the Lifetime Sea Otter Classic. Fox Racing Dual Slalom Elite Finals. Sierra Nevada's got the green tents. Cruise on down there if that's your thing. And we do want to welcome all of our Fox VIPs to the Fox VIP Zone. Van Horn on her second bye run here. Getting a feel for that blue lane because she's going to be going head-to-head with the winner of this next heat, which looks like it will be Janelle Sukup. So Sukup, competitor, did not show up for each of those runs, so she will get a advance into the round of 16, where she's going to face Van Horn. As we look back to the top, another one of our max differentials in run 1 in the gate. Emma Zakaris had that little bit of a tip over in the red lane. Let's call it the downhill left. Right there in the middle of the course, the downhill corner, because it looks like you're ripping a downhill bike through those rough chundery bits. And just to think that this field was nothing but pure grass just a few days ago, and now it's all cut up, chopped up, holes appearing everywhere, and it looks like Olivia Silva is taking a little bit more advantage out of that already 1.5 second lead on Emma Zakaris. Yeah, Olivia has been honing those skills on the little bike. Spends a lot of time at the skate park riding the dirt jumper. And that translates to being able to negotiate around some of these really tight corners. So will be Silva moving on into the round of 16 to face Connolly. And back up at the top of the hill there, Ella Connolly on her bye run, rocking that Enduro rig. doubling up on Enduro duty and dual slalom duty here. Not sure if she's racing downhill or not. We'll find out tomorrow morning, won't we? That's our elite downhill going down tomorrow at this Lifetime Sea Otter Classic. But it is all about the unofficial World Championships of dual slalom racing going down right now in this new pole amphitheater for 2026. The Fox Racing Dual Slalom Finals. We look up Martha Gill on her second fire run as well. Rolling through where she's going to face the winner of our next. The other one's won it 12 times. And she is your number 2 qualifier, Jill Kidner. Still waiting to see her drop in for her second fire run. As we go back to the top, Andrea Hill on the red course, Ainsley Wolf on the blue course. Ainsley only has a .39 advantage over Andrea Hill, so this one could come down to the wire. Well, Ainsley in that blue lane right now, still with a lead here in run number 2, but Andrea is closing down in this final corner. If she can get around this last bend tight, she might be able to close the gap, but no, it's not going to be enough. It will be Wolf moving on. Back up to the top, Jordy Scott with a .24 advantage on the red course over Geza Rogers. And it's neck and neck coming into the steep section. Yeah, that downhill left corner, you can just see how much those bikes are working as they get to the bottom of it, having to slow down a little bit to set up for the flat corners, but also so many bumps that you don't want to be on the brakes. Another near perfectly mirrored run. The advantage was .246. It's going to be close. Jordy had the advantage. Quarter of a second is all she needs. Geza wins by .46, so Rogers will move on. It doesn't get any closer than that. It moves on by .21 combined on those times. Red course right now, Miranda Maliska has got a bye run. Taking it nice and easy. Well, she's going to be facing Rogers, who just made up a differential on a former queen of Crankworks and a multi-time Crankworks dual slalom winner in Jordy Scott. So already shakeups here in this 2026 version of dual slalom racing. Let's see if the old hats keep their space at the top of the podium, or if we're going to have some new winners here for 2026. Another bye run up on the hill. That's going to be Sophie Allen rocking down the red course right now. And Mikey, real quick, there are no shortages of ways that you can throw it away on a course like this today. It could be holes. It could be blowing that front tire. It could be a million different things. Nobody is immune to them. Yeah, there is not going to be a quote-unquote perfect run. You hear about it in downhill races. You hear about it in moto where you have the perfect lap. I just don't think that that is going to be possible on this 2026 version of the Fox Racing Dual Slalom Finals as we look at Hella Ward and Emily Harris right now. Hella Ward in that red lane has the 1.5 second. All of these little ruts look like, knowing that there's going to be about 15 to 20 riders that go before the season again.
I get the clearance.
Championships. We go back to the men's run at number 2. These are the elimination round for our elite men. Nick Nesteroff right now has the advantage, .75, the advantage over Eric Olsen. And you saw Nick actually shut it down a little early before he got to the finish line, knowing that this is just the first run of the round of 32. And the number 1 qualifier is trying to make sure he has all of the horsepower left to take home a second win here at the Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom. Up in the start gate right now, Win Masters. You've already got to get followed with a .35 advantage over Anthony Shelley. Neck and neck going into those hard corners off camber, getting ready to make their way through the fast straight section in the middle of the course. Again, Win Masters on the red course with a .35 advantage over Anthony Shelley. Super tight racing so far. A little bit of an advantage right now to Anthony Shelley, but is it going to be enough, or can Win make anything up? It's .35 seconds on the line. Win goes a little wide and loose on the second to last corner. Anthony Shelley is going to move on. Well, how about that? Your number 16 qualifier taking out Win Masters, number 17 qualifier. Moving on as we look at Max Clark in the blue lane, Devin DeBrule in the red. Max has .54 of a second advantage from run number 1. He's out to another lead here in run number 2. Just 3 more flat corners to go, but Devin DeBrule throwing a foot there. Somehow gets the bike underneath him. But it is going to be Max Clark in number 2. And moving on, back up to the top of the track on the red course, G. Atherton with a .65 second advantage over Ed Masters on the blue course. It looks like We've had Ed Masters have a bit of difficulty up there, so G. Atherton is going to be able to cruise down a leisurely ride the rest of the course. G. Atherton on the red course. Eddie has had some trouble. So G. Atherton will cruise this one through into the round of 16. Just a reminder for all of our viewers, no drone fly zone without proper approval. So if you are flying a drone right now and you do not have the approval, it is time to take it down. As we look back to the top, Dan Wolf, who had the advantage over the rope-a-dope, your number one qualifier. He had 0.1 of a second to play with, and he knew that he was going to have to go checkers or wreckers against someone like Mitch Ropolato. Or somewhat newbie here to dual slalom. Dylan Mabels, oh, there it was. Cody Kelly throwing a foot out in the first corner. Already starting things off with a little bit of turmoil here in this run. He knows he needs to make up 0.6 of a second. But Dylan Mabels on that Pivot Factory ride has shown he knows what this NorCal dirt feels like. Cody is off to that little bit of a lead, neck and neck on the last two corners. Cody absolutely put on a clinic on the last left-hander. The advantage, 0.688. He needed to make up. Cody gets to the line, but only 0.45, so it will be Maples moving on, eliminating a former champion. Back up to the top, Kyle Straight on the red course with a 0.44 second advantage over Emmett Hancock on the blue course. Emmett has an early lead here, but can Kyle keep that 0.44 second advantage? Mikey, I don't know if he's going to have enough. Just looking at that, I'm not going to call it a betting man, but that looks like it is going to be Hancock moving on, and it is Hancock into the round of 16. As we look, Tommy Zula got a bit of a gift there in run number one. He was at a pretty big deficit behind Nate Kitchen, and Nate throws it away on the final corner. So now Tommy Zula just needs to keep it rubber side down, and he's in the lead right now over Kitchen. When they come to the line like this and you know you've got a 1.5 second buffer, you can let off the gas just that little bit. How about that? Tommy Zula, your 29th qualifier, taking out the number 4 seed in Nate Kitchen. Up on course, on the red course, Seth Anderson. On the blue course, Tegan Cruz. Tegan's got a 1.5 second advantage. And it looks like we've got a gap up on track. Yeah, he is opening up that gap here on run number 2. And this is what we kind of expect to see from our early rounds, our higher seeded riders going into our lower seeds. But we've already seen some upsets just like that last round. Another 1.5 second advantage goes to Maxwell Brown up on the red course over Cody Johnson. They are neck and neck going into our fast, deep downhill section. Well, this is going to be exciting because Cody knows that he needs to go full speed and leave everything out on track, and he's doing it right now. Oh, a big mistake there for Maxwell Brown. 1.5 the advantage. He needs to make up. Cody has one more corner to go. He needs to get on the gas. Maxwell Brown is doing everything he can. It's going to be close. 1.5.
Okay, course is clear.
Cody needs 1.5. He wins by 1.36, so just barely missing out. Maxwell Brown threw the rudder out and just held it together. Up on course, Tristan Lemire on the red course with a 0.43 second advantage over Austin Bubba Warren on the blue course. Looks like Bubba has got the advantage at the halfway point by a significant margin, perhaps, if he's able to hold on to it. He needs about half a second, but Lemire able to put down some horsepower on those clipless pedals. It's gonna be tight. 0.433 is what Austin needs to win by. He wins by over a second, so it will be Bubba Warren. I saw a whole bunch of roosts come up in the crowd. I heard them all the way from down here. We've got Jim McDermott up by 1.5 on the red course over John Simek on the blue course, but it is neck and neck. Remember, John's got to make up 1.5 seconds over Finn. Well, how about that for a run near mirror images, but John Simek is not going to be able to make up that 1.5. He wins by 0.02 of a second. In the gates now, on the red course with a 1.5 second advantage, Fred Larivieri, and on the blue course, Shreddy, Eddie Reynolds. Eddie's going to have some work to do if he wants to make up 1.5 seconds on Fred. Well, those flat pedals are definitely going to be used here in this run number 2 in this round of 32. 1.5 seconds is a tall order on a track that has 20 independently different and obscenely technical flat corners. Right now, it looks like it is Larivieri, your number 7 qualifier. Doing what he needs to do, keep it close. moving on into the round of 16. Just getting ready to hit that steep downhill section on the red course with a 1.1 second advantage will be Luca Cometti, and on the blue course, Canyon Wilcox. Looks like Canyon Wilcox does have a little bit of an early lead at the halfway point, but remember, he's got to make up 1.1 seconds over Luca Cometti on the red course, and Luca has done some work to bring it back. Mikey, I don't think that was enough for Canyon. It was going to be tight. The win will still go to Luca Cometti. Canyon wins by just over half a second, but he needed 1.2 to move on. Cometti into the round of 16. On course now, Braden Bringhurst needs to make up .09, which is nothing on Greg Callahan on the blue course. He needs exactly a tenth of a second to move on over Greg Callahan, but Callahan has a slight advantage. One more corner. Oh, Braden tucking the front a little bit, keeps the rubber side down. Looks like it's not going to be enough. Greg Callahan, the Red Bull rider, moving on into the round of 16. On course at the top, Tyler Wagoner with a .75 advantage over Blake Carney on the blue course. Blake Carney on the blue course does appear to have ever so slight of an advantage into the last quarter, but remember, he's going to have to make up .75.
I don't know.
How about that for Blake Carney? Basically coming out of retirement, former World Cup four-cross racer, for the first time in 6 years, able to go head-to-head with the number 2 qualifier. But it will be Wagoner moving on. For the first time today, Kaylee Skelton has got a competitor right with her side by side. Kaylee's on the red course, Rachel Strait on the blue course. Well, I'm going to tell you that an RE Bikes rider is going to win this race, Tim. The chances are it's going to be your number 1 qualifier, Kaylee Skelton. She's going to take that 1.5 second advantage over the better half of the Strait family. Rachel Strait doing what she can here. As we look back to the top, Taylor Osgard in the red, neck and neck with Morgan Sush on the blue course, literally identically paced going through the halfway point. Elbow to elbow, folks. It's not going to get any tighter than this. I'd love to see a clean race all the way to the finish line, but anything can happen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your dual slalom finals presented by Fox Racing and Pink Bike. Well, the advantage there for Morgan Such, .090 of a second, just 9 thousandths of a second as we go back to Aliana Van Horn on her first head-to-head matchup against Janelle Sukup on her first head-to-head matchup. We're going to see if they're ready to race. It's kind of easy to cruise down and put a show on for the crowd, but here we go with Aliana Van Horn looking super solid. He's going to take this first run of the pairing. This is almost the battle of the free riders here in dual slalom. Both Aliana and Sukup are no slouch when it comes to huge jumps, but showing they've got the skills here on the flat corners. Olivia Silva in the red, Ella Connolly in the blue right now. It looks like Ella's out in the lead, Tim. I'm going to have to say that Ella has been riding strong all weekend. Again, not certain whether she's doing the downhill or not, but had a super strong showing in the Enduro. Riding that same bike, she's certainly feeling comfy on it, and it looks like she's going to take a maximum advantage of 1.5. Head-to-head against G. Atherton. G gets it, but only by .068. 0.068, the advantage for Atherton. We look back to the top. We should be seeing Robolato and Maples. This is going to be a great one, folks. You do not want to look away. Robolato in that bright teal TLB kit in the red lane. Dylan Maples in the red and black TLB kit in that blue lane. Robolato there, it's getting a little bit messy. You can't make too many mistakes like that and hope to come along with the win. It looks like Dylan has taken a slight advantage after that small mistake. Well, how about that? A newbie to the World Cup and showing he's got the speed here in dual slalom. He's going to put the gap there on Robolato.
I feel so good.
594. The advantage for Maples up in the start line. Hancock in the red course. Tommy Zula on the blue course. Neck and neck coming through that first top hand section and through the holes. Downhill, absolutely dead even. Nearly identical through that top section. And again, in this flat bit here after the downhill straightaway, this is where riders really need to conserve inertia and try and get that speed without pedaling. Tommy Zula doing what he can right now, running a little wide in those last few corners. Advantage, Hancock, .506 as we're looking up the hill, waiting for Hagen to drop a red course. Of course, I have to courses have been developing in such a way that one is favoring the other. Just based on the riders in their qualifying positions, the faster rider is typically going on the red lane first, and we've seen it be pretty close. You might argue that the red lane is a little bit slower, but again, every rider changes the course, every run is subjective to each of these competitors. But how about that right now? Running a little bit wide in the blue lane, but putting it to Mr. Tegan Cruz, Maxwell Brown. Will get the advantage point 5-2-2. In the start gate, Austin Bubba Warren on the red lane. Spins out to a pedally early lead as they approach that steep downhill section. All the holes, the suspension is doing the work overtime. Well, this is another one of our flat pedals versus flips, so that advantage out of the start gate may be due to those pedals on McDermott's bike, but this is where the flat pedal style of Bubba Warren is really going to shine, keeping those feet on around that really technical red corner. It will be Finn McDermott starting the block, 0.6 the advantage, 0.6 exactly for McDermott. Back up at the top of the hill, Fred Riviere on the red course, Luca Cometti on the blue course. Luca has recently picked up a microphone and has done a fantastic job commentating a couple of downhill races lately. I love to see it. Well, he's switching hats and going back to the slalom racer, a multi-time U.S. national dual slalom champion in Luca Cometti, showing why right now, opening up a big lead here on the number 7 qualifier, LaRiviera. This is number 7 qualifier versus number 10. LaRiviera pulling out some power at the bottom, but it will be Cometti.
Next one's going to be gnarly. Yeah.
4-4-1 for Luca. In the start, Callahan on the red lane. Tyler Wagner in the blue lane.
Go, Tyler!
About hard, dusty, loose turns. He is an Enduro extraordinaire. And we are racing on these Enduro bikes today. Such a rough and tough course. Well, I will say he's at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to course conditions. Tyler Wagner out of Southern California definitely used to this dry, dusty, sandy course. Callahan from that Isle of Green probably hasn't seen this much dust his entire childhood. And it will be Wagner getting to the line first, 0.487 on the gap, 0.09 of a second, so Taylor just needs a 10th. It looks like she will get it, 0.5 the advantage. Osgard moving on. Back up to the top, Janelle Sukup on the red course is going to be up against Aliana Van Horn. Aliana's got a 0.98 advantage. That's nearly a second. So Aliana, 1 second advantage over Janelle, and she's already off to an early lead. Yeah, that blue lane right now of Van Horn, using those early buy rounds, practice runs to her advantage, seeing how the course was going to develop so she could start attacking and ratchet up every one of these runs. She's doing just that right now, knowing that she's going to have to go up against either Olivia Silva or Ella Conley in this next round. Speaking of Olivia Silva and Ella Conley, they are in the start hut now. Ella's going to take a 1.5 second advantage into this head-to-head over Olivia Silva. Remember, Ella is on the red course, Olivia Silva on the blue course. Head-to-head coming through the tight, twisty, off-camber section at the top, and they're going to make a hard right-hand turn to the steep downhill section. And, folks, there are some holes that have developed there. Whether it's braking bumps or gopher holes, you're going to have to make your pick. Neck and neck coming through our middle section of the course. Remember, Olivia needs to make up 1.5 on Ella, and I'm not sure that it's going to be possible with one turn to go. Ella is going to cross the line first and extend that lead. Ella Connolly will be moving on to the next round. At the top of the hill in the start hut, Ainsley Wolf on the red course. Martha Gill with only a 0.10 advantage on the blue course. Absolutely nothing in that advantage. Likely the first person to cross the line here at the bottom of the hill will be moving on again. Martha Gill, blue course, advantage 0.1. Ainsley Wolf on the red course. Well, right now it looks like the Marin Bikes rider is doing exactly what she needs to do, putting the pedals exactly down at the right time, only braking enough to make it around those corners. So Martha Gill moving on. In the start hut, Miranda Maliska in the red. Gaza Rogers with a 0.28 advantage on the blue course. They are on track. Rogers, your number 11 qualifier, already took out a former queen of Crankworks in Jordy Scott. Now she's going against the number 6 qualifier of Miranda Maliska. Tight racing already here in this round of 16. The advantage in blue lane, 0.28 of a second, and it looks like Rogers is doing what she needs to do here. The lower bits of this course, she's got 2 more corners to go, just needs to keep Meliska within a couple tenths, but it will be Rogers going 2 for 2, facing Gill in the quarterfinals. Bella Ward is in the red course, and she's going to take a 0.55 second advantage over Sophie Allen in the blue course to get this heat started. Neck and neck going through our tight off cambers at the top of the track, and they're going to make this right-hand turn, headed down to our downhill rough section. Neck and neck doesn't get any tighter than this. Remember, Bella Ward does have that 0.55 second advantage over Sophie Allen on the blue course. Yeah, so Sophie Allen is in the lead right now. It is all her race to win. She's got the lead, but she needs over half a second. Just like that, Bella Ward closing the gap with 1 corner to go. Sophie will start the clock. She needs 0.553 of a second. She wins by 0.73. So Allen moving on into the quarters. The margin of that victory after 2 rounds was 0.18. Folks, it doesn't get much closer than that. On track now, Jill Kittner on the red course with a 1.5 advantage over Chloe Bear on the blue track. We saw Chloe is doing everything she can right now to just stay close to Jill Kittner, maybe pressure the 12-time champion into a bobble, maybe a little mistake. Anything can happen here in gated racing. When it comes to flat corners and power, this woman knows what she's doing. Jill Kittner moving on into the quarterfinals. And just like that, our women's round of 16 has wrapped, and we are moving on to the men's round of 16. On track now on the red course. Anthony Shelley with a 0.17 advantage over Nick Nesteroff on the blue course. Speaking of advantage, it looks like Nick has already gone out to an extremely fast start on that blue track. Remember, he does need to make up 0.175. That's how you put on a clinic. Quick look over the shoulder for Nick Nesteroff. He is going to make up that 0.175 and take that victory and move on with a 0.13 second advantage. Back to the top. How about this? One of the closest races we saw in the round of 16. 0.068 of a second. The advantage right now. And oh, just as I say, the advantage was for the Atherton Bikes rider with that Red Bull helmet. G. Atherton had nothing in it, less than the 10th of a second on run number 1. Max Clark, though, the NorCal rider, is putting it to the former world champion right now. And just like that, G. Atherton takes some of the Sea Otter Slalom course with him, covering his brake lever. But it will be Max Clark moving on to face Nesteroff in the quarterfinals. We'll do a quick course hold while we grab upsets here. Champion Mitch Ropolato has over half a second to make up on the Pivot Factory ride of Dylan Maples. NorCal versus Utah right now. Former champion versus a newbie here to the Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom. Mitch Ropolato needs to make up 0.59 of a second, but Dylan Maples is pushing that massive gear. 1 more corner to go. He needs 0.6 of a second to advance. It's going to be tight. He gets to the line first. Not gonna be enough. He needed 0.594. He wins by 0.50. So by 4/1000th of a second. Maples will move on. As we go back to the top, Emmett Hancock and Tommy Zula right now. Hancock with a 0.5 advantage over Zula. And it looks like he's off to an early lead on that blue course. Got to keep it together. Those dusty corners are still going to come back and get some folks before this afternoon is over, as we just saw. Tommy Zula knew he had to make up at least half a second to try and move on. Was giving everything he could in the final corner. He just made life more difficult for Maxwell Brown in that red lane. He's got his work cut out for him against Tegan Cruz. Maxwell needs to make, or has the advantage of 5-2. So Tegan actually going to have to make up that differential here. He'll be in that blue lane. Lookers right here from the bottom of the course from this amazing, definitely braking and causing more dirt to be moved on this track. Well, speaking about moving dirt, how about that power from the rear wheel of Tegan Cruz? He is excavating when he puts those pedals to the ground, and he's going to have to do it. He's got to make up half a second. He does, and he's got about a 2-bike length lead. And how about that power out of Tegan Cruz right now from Pemberton, the RE Bikes rider? Half a second is what he needs, and it looks like he's going to do it. It will be Tegan Cruz moving on. That is how you make a statement. You make up half a second and move on to the next round. Now back up top, we got Ketl McDermott with a 0.6-second advantage coming on the red course. And Austin Bubba Warren needs to make up that 0.6 on the blue course. Well, this is another one of those situations where the higher-seated rider was in the red lane on run number 1 and had a disadvantage. Now that rider switches to this blue lane, and you see them already opening up a little bit of a gap. So it may not be a function of the courses themselves being faster, but perhaps our entire seated riders are all more comfortable on that blue lane and know that in run number 2, they can leave it all hanging out on track to try and make up those differentials, which is exactly what Bubba Warren tried to do. Bubba Warren needed to make up exactly 0.6 of a second. He makes up 0.59. So by 2 thousandths of a second, Bubba Warren will not advance. And as we say that, that was Luca Cometti, it looks like, going head-to-head with Fred Lavieri, and it was Fred in that blue lane that goes for a tumble out of the second corner. And so it will be Luca Cometti moving on. My goodness, going back to that last race with Finn McDermott and Austin Bubba Warren, Finn moves on by .002. I think that a lot of our spectators were watching a crash when we said that. I want to give Finn that shout out. Finn is advancing. Luca does take the second run as well. Luca will be moving on and on track now. Well, we still got to let Lavieri get his little bit of a victory lap. Number 7 qualifier, putting on an amazing show out here. But unfortunately, not keeping the rubber side down when it counted. Cometti moving on in our final heat of this men's round of 16. This is Greg Callahan. Needs to make it 4 seconds. And just as I say it, Callahan goes down in the very first corner. He's already back up and on the bike, wagging her nose. He needs to just roll it rubber side down to get to the finish. But how about that? Let's get behind the man from Ireland. He's definitely not used to being dusty after a crash. But that's the game here at this 2026 Lifetime Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom, brought to you by Fox Racing and Pink Bike. Without question, Greg just moved his fair share of California dirt. Oh my goodness. The conclusion of our round of 16, men and women. Next up on the start HUD will be our quarterfinals, Elite Women. On the red course will be Kaylee Skelton, and on the blue course, Taylor Osgard. Well, we've spoken about Taylor's issues on Thursday in qualification, so her speed on paper definitely not shown. This is going to be a really tough matchup for your number 1 qualifier, Kaylee Skelton, going up against a World Cup downhill racer like Taylor Osgard. Canadian bikes absolutely neck and neck coming through our downhill section here. We're about at the halfway point, and from here to the bottom, it is full gas on the pedals and making sure you're keeping that traction. Yeah, it's a balancing act of trying not to brake while sliding through these corners, then trying to get your pedals back underneath you. Taylor doing what she can to keep the number 1 seed in tight. It's going to be close, but it looks like Kaylee Skelton in the red lane, .125, so just an eighth of a second there. Aliana Van Horn on the red course. Ella Connolly on the blue course. They're in the start gate now. They'll be starting momentarily. This is run number 1 of our quarterfinals, the round of 8. The winners of these heats will be going on to battle for medals and those final spots on the podium here at this 2026 Lifetime Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom. But right now, it is Ella Conley in the red with a bit of a lead over Aliana Van Horn in the red lane. Again, about a corner in front for the Cannondale rider. Oh, a little bit of a slip pedal there for Aliana, but she's able to still close the gap down. Having trouble getting clipped back in there. Again, that's our flats versus clips. What a run for Ella Connolly. She'll take that 1.5 into the next, actually 1.38 into the next round. At the top of the hill, Martha Gill on the red course and Gaza Rogers on the blue course. Gaza, your number 11 qualifier, now already into the quarterfinals, hoping to battle for a spot in the semis, maybe get on the podium. As we take a look, she's got her work cut out for her, though. The Marina Bikes rider, Martha Gill, is doing what she needs to do. The rider from the UK has figured out this dusty dirt in years past. She's doing that as well here in 2026. But how about this? Gaza Rogers in that blue lane, keeping things tidy. Near mirror images, one corner to go, Tim. Maybe a slight advantage there for Gill. Let's see what the final turn does. Incredibly, there was a difference in style there. We got Martha on the pedals and Gaza trying to carry a little bit more momentum, and Gaza's going to take it by .08. Back up to the top, Sophie Allen is going to be on the red course, and Jill Kittner on the blue course, waiting to drop. This is the final run of our first round of this quarterfinals for the ladies. Sophie Allen, the Mondraker rider out of South Florida, going up against the Washington local of Jill Kittner and the winningest Sea Otter Crowdy athlete in history. Folks, let's hear it for these racers. We're here at the Lifetime Sea Otter Classic and the Dual Slalom Finals presented by Fox Racing and Pink Bike. That Fox VIP zone getting stoked for Jill Kittner coming across the line. She will start the clock. Advantage 1.5. So how about that? Jill Kittner able to put a 1.5 second advantage into Sophie Allen, your number 7 qualifier. Opening up our men's elite quarterfinals are going to be Nick Nesteroff on the red course and Max Clark on the blue course. They're in the start hut now. Max had quite the exciting path to get here to face the number 1 qualifier. This is going to be a tough battle for Nesteroff. We've seen him be very calculated all day long, being very smooth, only pedaling exactly when he needs to. Maxwell Brown definitely letting everything hang out. He knows this is Nick's race to lose. Maxwell Clark, oh, and as I say that, Maxwell Clark loses feet and gets swapped up in the third to last section. So will be Nesteroff with a 1.5 advantage. Clark was doing everything he could to try and challenge the number 1 seed. Perhaps a brief course hold here as we have Dylan Maples in the start hut on the red course and Emmett Hancock in the start hut on the blue course. Want to make sure that that crash hasn't damaged. Want to make sure that all of these racers have an equal opportunity and that no one lane has any disadvantage over another. Getting word from our awesome course marshals and volunteers, the track is ready. We are open, ready for run number 1, Maples and Hancock. Maples in the red lane, Hancock in the blue. Maples getting that long way around that first red corner, but you see he's just keeping that bike so planted and stable on the ground. Hancock really having to work that bike around trying to get traction. Hancock is all over the handlebars, yanking them back and forth and pumping those legs. Absolutely working it, and it's put him out to an early lead. It does, but we've seen Dylan Maples do this all day long. That second to last section, going into the final right-hand corner, Maples is able to pull out about half a bike length on every one of his competitors, but it will still be Hancock with a .471 advantage over Maples. Back to the top 10, we've got Tegan Cruz and Finn McDermott. Finn had a great upset win over Bubba Warren by 0.02 of a second in that last round. Let's see if he's got anything left in the tank here. They're on course now, and I'm going to say Finn McDermott was super hard on the pedals immediately out of the gate, and it's going to have a little bit of advantage at about the halfway point down the track. Wow, he's actually putting in a bit of a lead now on Tegan Cruz, and in the last one, we were exclaiming about the power of Tegan Cruz. Now it's Finn McDermott with the horsepower. One more corner to go. Tegan closing down the gap. Finn needs to get on the ponies if he's going to get to the line first. Advantage, Finn McDermott. .681 the advantage for McDermott. I'm going to say Finn's making an impression on me today. That is definitely, we've got a lot of dark horses here in these fields, both in our men's and ladies. But one rider that is not a dark horse, your number 2 qualifier, Tyler Wagner, who is now going head-to-head with Louis Cometti, a multi-time U.S. National Dual Slalom champion. This is youth versus experience, Tim. Run number 1 here. We're going to have Luca on the red course, Tyler on the blue course. They're out of the start gate right now. And it looks like maybe a slight advantage there for Wagner because he's on that inside lane. But Luca, always known for being so smooth and consistent with his riding. Wagner, a new rider on the scene here in the elite field, showing he's got raw speed, but can he hold it together for an entire dual slalom final? He's doing what he needs to do right now, opening up about a 2 bike length lead on Cometti. Wagner will get to the line first. What's the advantage going to be? Advantage Tyler Wagner, 1.5 seconds. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that that particular run from Wagner might have been the cleanest that I've seen all day. That was our first pair loading in the gate will be Kaylee Skelton and Taylor Oscard. We've spoken about this multiple times. Oscard is one of our dark horses in this elite women's field, having that issue in qualification. So her 24th place in quality is not indicative of her speed that she showed in run number 1. Now the advantage flips over to Kaylee Skelton. Mike had a conversation with Kaylee yesterday after Thursday after qualifying, and I said, "What do you think of the course?" And she looked at me and she said, "I love it." Well, she's showing that enjoying it translates into speed right now, opening up a massive gap right now on Oscard. It is Kaylee Skelton in the lead right now, doing exactly what she needs to do. Skelton into the semifinals. Back up to the start gate. We've got Ella Connolly on the red course with a 1.38 advantage over Aliana Van Horn. We are waiting for those racers to drop. I love watching them come out. It looks like on the blue course, the inside line, if you will, they get on the pedals hard, always come out to a quick advantage because it is that inside line. But by the time they make this right-hander, things often even up. Yeah, that right-hander on the red lane is just as treacherous as the inside left on the blue lane out of the start. And just like that, we're hearing the crowd get wild. It seems like a little bit of a mistake there for Connolly, opening the door for Aliana. Aliana needs 1.5. It's going to be close. She needs to get to the line first. 1.3 the advantage for Connolly. Not going to be enough. Aliana gets to the line, but only by 0.3, so it will be Connolly and Skelton for our first matchup in the semifinals. I love being able to hear and feel the appreciation of the crowd when they see the bike handling skills on display of all of our racers when they make a mistake and somehow manage to keep it on 2 wheels. Back to the start hut, we're going to have Gaza Rogers with a 0.08 advantage on the red course over Martha Gill on the blue course. Remember, Martha Gill is a returning past champion. She's got just the tiniest bit of work to do. Definition of the tiniest bit, less than a 1/10 of a second separating these riders on run number 1, and they are again mirror images coming into that crux right-hand corner, into the downhill chunder left. Now this flat section, it looks like another advantage for blue lane. Martha Gill, again, your top-seeded rider, hitting the blue lane in run number 2, able to keep that advantage, but right now, red lane, Gaza Rogers trying to keep this Cinderella story going, but it will be Martha Gill moving on into the semis. At the top of the start hut, we've got Jill Kittner right where she wants to be with a 1.5 advantage over Sophie Allen in the blue lane.
If there were bank corners
in any other race situation, Sophie Allen would be trying her hardest to get in the head of her competitor, push as hard as she can in every corner, maybe scare Jill Kittner into a mistake. But I know those words don't actually translate to English because Jill Kittner and scared does not happen when it comes to dual slalom racing. And she's showing that right now with a 1.5 second advantage on run 1 and leading here in run 2. Jill might have made a small mistake going into that downhill section and got hard on the pedals to make up some ground. She's not going to use that 1.5 second advantage to her benefit. She wants to win every single time that gate drops. She is going to move on with a 1.42 advantage. Up at the top, we've got our men, Mikey. Woo-wee! What a race, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Sea Otter Classic, are we enjoying this new venue for Sea Otter Slalom? Hey, let's try that again. We've got our pro men on course right now. Run number 2 elimination runs for Max Clark and Nick Nesterov. Are we enjoying this, Sea Otter? Nick Nesterov does have that 1.5 advantage on the blue lane over Max Clark, and he is out to that early lead. So Nick's going to try to hold things together and move on to the next round. Nesterov knows he has that 1.5, a little check over the shoulder, no extra pedal strokes necessary. Nesterov is on his way into the semis. Up at the top of the hill, Emmett Hancock will be in your left-hand lane with a 0.4-second advantage over Dylan Maples on the blue lane. Dylan
Harper,
so strong all day, maybe a couple mistakes, maybe luck hasn't been on his side. I think he has every ability to put some time into him, and it's going to be a tight race. Well, again, this is another rider that I don't think their 21st qualifying position is any indication of the speed they have on course. We're seeing it right now. Dylan Maples is somehow generating front wheel traction where no one else is able to. That pivot factory ride new for him on 2026. And he's already started out with wins on the downhill bike and some local races, showing he's got the skills here on the little bike. How about that front wheel drift him around the final corner? Unbelievable. Dylan was absolutely diving into the corners at the top half of the course, pulled out an early lead and held on to it all the way to the end. Dylan will move on with a 1-second advantage there in the end. Up at the top, Finn McDermott is going to be in the left-hand lane with a 0.68-second advantage over Tegan Cruz in the blue lane. So your number 3 qualifier right now has over half a second to make up on your number 6 qualifier. Finn McDermott has showed he's had the horsepower. He might be another one of our sleepers. Is it going to be an upset? How about that traction? Finn McDermott sprinting out of the corner, drifting wide. Looks like Tegan Cruz is keeping it tidy there in the blue lane. Maybe a slight advantage, but he needs a lot more than a slight advantage. He needs to make up 0.6 of a second. Finn McDermott is right there, squares up the final corner, gets hard on the gas. He's running wide. Is it going to be enough? He needed 0.68 of a second. Tegan Cruz wins by 0.461. Not going to be enough. Finn McDermott has done it. Our dark horse moves on. Up at the top of the start hut, Tyler Wagner with a 1.5 advantage on the red course over Luca Cometti on the blue course. My goodness. This is, again, we mentioned it in round number 1, youth versus experience. This is where the experience can really pay off for Cometti. He's in that blue lane that's been favoring our faster seated riders. But Wagner is the faster seated rider. And as I say it, experience has done it. The youngster throws it away in one of the top corners. Luca just needs to keep it rubber side down. Keep on the pedals. Wagner is charging hard. 2 more corners to go there for Cometti. He's going to not leave anything to chance. Luca Cometti, number 10 qualifier. How about that, Tim? So, Mikey, explain to our dual slalom finals presented by Fox Racing and Pink Crowd why Luca won, seeing as how he had a 1.5 disadvantage going into that heat. I know you got an easy answer for him. Well, that's an easy answer because the max differential here in slalom is 1.5 seconds. So even if Tyler Wagner or Luca Cometti in run 1 were able to mitigate, they would only have to make up exactly 1.5 seconds to advance. And because in run number 2, Tyler Wagner had that front wheel slide out and was not able to get on his bike fast enough, Luca broke the beam. Tyler did it after 1.5 seconds. Luca moves on. That's how it works, folks. So racing head-to-head matchups, the rider and the bike trying their hardest to negotiate what seems like the simplest track you've seen in years here at Sea Otter Slalom. But as we've just seen with some of our top-seeded riders in both the pro men and pro women's field, these are the best-gated riders on the planet, and they are still struggling to be consistent and end up on top. And that's why we're seeing in this semifinal matchup random mixes. We've got Kaylee Skelton loading in the gate right now with Ella Connolly, number 4 qualifier. Kaylee Skelton, your number 1 qualifier. Ella in the blue, the Cannondale rider with about a 1 bike length lead coming out of the first corner, but Kaylee Skelton has done everything picture perfect here so far. Ella Conley, again, we mentioned that blue lane favoring riders a little bit here in this finals. Qualification times were nearly identical, so it's maybe just the way that the course is developing. But it looks like it is Ella Conley in to the lead. And for the first time today, Kaylee Skelton will be making up a deficit. Your number 1 qualifier will be needing to make up almost a full differential. The advantage for Connolly, 1.34 seconds. Amazing run there for the Cannondale rider. And how about this matchup? This is a final on any given day, any location on planet Earth for dual slalom. But here we are, run number 1 of the semis. Jill Kittner, your number 2 qualifier, the winningest Sea Otter athlete in gravity racing in the blue lane. A queen of Crankworks, multiple-time Crankworks dual slalom, and a Sea Otter dual slalom champion in Martha Gill in the red lane right now. Slight advantage there for Jill Kittner. That all-black kit and the orange bell helmet. Martha Gill on that flaming orange Marin bike doing everything she can right now to give chase. But it is Jill Kittner putting on, once again, exactly what she needs to do here for dual slalom. Putting down a picture-perfect run. And it will be likely a full 1.5. It is the 1.5 advantage for Kittner over Gill, and what a absolute spectacular run there from both those riders. It just shows the amount of precision that Jill is able to operate on, and shows why she has 12 slalom championships.
I kicked this to an accident.
Now we are headed back to the top for the first run of our men's semi-final. We have your number 1 qualifier, Nicholas Nesterov, who has seen the finish line in front of him with no competitors in the way all day long. But if someone has something to say about it, it is the Pivot Factory ride of Dylan Nichols, your number 21 qualifier, going head-to-head right now against the number 1 seed. And right now, number 21 has the advantage, but Nesterov is not going to take no for an answer in that red lane. We watched Maples able to generate front wheel traction where no one else has, but Nesterov has not been pushed yet. What's it going to be? Maples will get to the line first, but it is going to be tight. 0.174, the advantage for Maples, 0.174.
Wow, Mikey, I think Nick might have approached that last right-hander faster than anybody I've seen all day, and somehow he managed to hold that right-hand turn. Goodness gracious. Up in the start hut. On the left lane, Finn McDermott. In the right lane, Luca Cometti. This is your semifinals here at the Dual Slalom presented by Fox Racing and Pink Bike. Wow.
Number 10 qualifier going head-to-head with your number 6 qualifier. We keep calling Finn McDermott the dark horse, but that number 6 qualifying position shows he has the speed. Luca Cometti, your number 10 qualifier, definitely has the experience. Multiple-time national champion in this discipline. Shows it just there, a little bit offline, but tucking the head, keeping the rubber side down. One more corner to go for Cometti. He will start the clock. McDermott will stop. Advantage Cometti, 0.770. 0.770. The advantage there for Luca Cometti.
Wow. Mikey, it looks like in our women's field, the ladies are going to go back up to the top with a 1.34 second.
I think there was a run on soccer cones. Right for dual slalom here at this 2026 Lifetime Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom. Brought to you by our folks at Fox Racing and Pink Bike.
Mikey, are you ready to see who's going to make it out of the semifinals and into the finals in our women's elite field?
I think I'm ready. I'm not sure if this crowd is quite ready yet. Hey, Sea Otter Classic, are we ready for the run of the semifinals for the ladies?
Is that a vuvuzela?
Over Kaylee Skelton. Remember, Kaylee was your fastest qualifier. Can she make up 1.34 seconds? Yeah, this is the largest deficit we've seen Skelton have to make up here.
And they are on course. Remember, Kaylee is on the blue course. Ella is on the red course. Kaylee is out to a slight early lead, but again, that is the inside line up top.
Well, we've seen that blue lane be a little bit of an advantage for our top-seeded riders here during the finals. Ella, number 4 seed. Kaylee, number 1 seed. Kaylee in that blue lane. She needs almost the full pull of 1.3 seconds. Ella is doing everything she can to give chase. She's going to have to dig deep into those pedals. Kaylee will start the clock. Ella will start the clock. The advantage, 1.34. Kaylee wins by 1.05. Not going to be enough. Ella Connolly has pulled the upset. The number 1 qualifier is now going to the consolation bracket. Kaylee Skelton. That one mistake on run number 1 was just too much to overcome. The Cannondale rider showing that poise, that Enduro pedigree, keeping consistent. At the start line right now, we've got Jill Kittner with a 1.5-second advantage over Martha Gill on the blue course. And folks, remember, this is your rematch from 2 years ago in the final. It's semifinals today, but Jill and Martha went head-to-head 2 years ago. They are on track now. Jill Kittner, 1.5-second advantage in the red lane. Martha Gill on the blue lane. Well, this is going to be another rider to possibly steal a championship away from the winningest dual slalom rider in Sea Otter history, Jill Kittner, going for lucky number 13 here, but she's got to make her way through. The queen of Crankworks, Martha Gill, the Marin Bikes rider, needs to make up 1.5 over Jill Kittner. She's got a slight lead right now, but it's not going to be enough. Jill is pedaling all the way to the line, leaving nothing to chance. Jill Kittner goes 2 for 2.
She is on her A game, as usual, at the Dual Slalom Elite Finals, presented by Fox Racing and Pink Bike, right here at the Lifetime Sea Otter Classic. Up at the top of the hill, we will have our second and final runs in the men's semifinals. First up will be Dylan Maples on the red course with a .17 advantage over Nick Nesterov against Emmett. Okay. .17 is nearly a dead heat. Again, Nick, your champion from 2 years ago, just like Martha Gill. So it's a familiar set of faces in the start hut here in the semifinals at the Dual Slalom Finals.
Well, here it is
by
on
Fox Racing and Pink Bike.
Here it is, elimination run here. Your number 1 qualifier trying to make up .174 a second over our Cinderella story of Dylan Maples. Your number 21 qualifier right now has the lead over Nick Nesterov. .174 is all that's in it. Nesterov needs to make it up. It looks like he's going to do it. It will be Nesterov moving on into the final. Dylan
appears
Maples
to be on a mission.
That was absolutely full determination from the RE Bikes rider. He was not taking no for an answer. Not a single tire knob out of place. Nesterov saw what happened to his teammate, the number 1 seed, getting unseated in the women's field. He was not about to let that happen. He wants to try and get that RE bike on the top of the podium, but one more run to go here in our semifinals. Luca Cometti has .77 advantage over Finn McDermott. Finn, your number 6 qualifier, so the faster qualifier in the faster lane, arguably, here in the finals. Let's see what this run looks like, Tim.
I'll tell you, Finn's got some work to do. He's out to an early lead, but again, that's the inside lane. We're going to know more when they come around this right-hander.
Luca getting a little stalled up, not able to roll through that right-hander smooth, and a little stalled up again in the bottom of that downhill chunder section. Right now, he's a full bike length back, almost a full turn behind Finn McDermott. Luca's really gonna have to turn on the gas. The advantage, .77 of a second. Luca's digging deep. It looks like it's gonna be close. Finn McDermott needed .77. He wins by .9. So Finn McDermott, it will be McDermott in the finals. Cometti and Maples in the consolation.
What exciting racing going on at the 2026 Lifetime Sea Otter Classic. This is your Dual Slalom Elite Finals presented.
Kicking things off with our elite women. And we have a former champion going head-to-head against our number 1 qualifier, Kaylee Skelton. After a bit of an upset there in the semifinals, has her work cut out for her against Martha Gill. Martha will be in the blue lane. Kaylee Skelton in the red. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first run of our women's consolation, the battle for the bronze. They're on course. Let's get loud. Sea Otter Classic.
Honestly, they're neck and neck after the first couple of corners. This right-hander tells us an awful lot, and it is dead even, folks. Let's hear for these ladies. Come on now.
Near picture perfect images of each other through that downhill rough section. Kaylee using that downhill pedigree. Martha Gill keeping the rubber side down, gaining all the traction she can on those WTV tires. It's going to be close, but it looks like Kaylee Skelton will get to the line first.
Unbelievably close. It looked like Kaylee just navigated those last two corners maybe slightly cleaner to come out with a .18 advantage. .18 of a second. Moving right on up to the top of the hill, the consolation men's first run. Dylan Maples on the red course and Luca Cometti on the blue course.
I feel like both of these guys are going to walk away winners here today. Dylan Maples, your 21 qualifier, battling for a podium. Luca Cometti, your 10 qualifier, battling for the podium.
So either one of these riders is going to be absolutely stoked on their finish. But right now, they must go through the other to get that final spot on the podium. The bronze medal on the line right now. Luca Cometti in the blue lane. Maybe about a slight bike length advantage, but we've seen Dylan Maples absolutely own this last right-hand corner all day long. He does it again. Cometti putting the power down. Cometti gets to the line first. Advantage .263. Before we go to the top of the hill, I'll tell you, Luca was putting the power down from top to bottom the whole time. Obviously, he ran a clean race, but it was horsepower that crossed the line first on that last heat.
Yeah, we've seen that all day from the veteran. Dylan Maples, though, showing he's no slouch. Able to generate that traction where we've seen no one else.
Up in the start gate now, Ella Connolly on your red course. Jill Kittner on the blue course. This is the first run of your Elite Women's Final here at the Dual Slalom Elite Final presented by Fox Racing and Pig Bike. Let's get loud, see our first run of your final. Jill Kittner going for her 13th Dual Slalom champion. But one rider can stand in her way. The Cannondale ride, Ella Connolly. She has been on a terror on the World Cup circuit of years late in that Enduro circuit. Now on the dual slalom, trying it against one of, if not the best to ever do it. Jill Kittner with a slight lead there, but Ella Connolly closing it down here at the finish, Tim. Jill had an amazing middle section, and Ella's coming strong at the end here. Oh my gosh, super close. It looks like Jill might have edged it out, and she has by .138. So Jill will take the advantage into the second run by only .138. At the top of the hill, your men's final for the Elite Men. Run number one, Nick Nesteroff in the red lane. I'm going to call him my dark horse. I've been saying it all afternoon. Finn McDermott in the blue lane. Folks, let's get rowdy for these guys. First run of the Elite Men's Final here at the Dual Slalom Elite Men's Final presented by Fox Racing and Pink Bike. Tim, we'll get you another set of lungs here for the next run, but right now, Nick Nesteroff and Finn McDermott are putting on a show for you, Sea Otter Classic. Finn McDermott flipped the pedal out of the gate. He's in the blue lane. He knows this is his time to try and put an advantage on the RE Bikes ride of Nick Nesteroff. Nick running wide in the last two corners, last three corners. Neither one of them had a clean run, but they were both giving it absolutely 120%. Finn is going to take a .45 advantage into run number two. I think both of them were out of their pedals multiple times on that run. I could not agree more. That was the definition of controlled chaos from top to bottom for both of these riders. Shout out to my timer, Bryce, for calling that out. He just said one word here at the finish, and it was chaos. Well, the chaos turned out in Finn McDermott's favor there. Your number 6 qualifier now has the biggest advantage of the day over your number 1 seed. For the first time today, Nick Nesteroff has to make up .456 of a second over Finn McDermott. And after how wild things got in those last three corners, neither of those riders were able to keep it online and keep it together, but somehow we're still able to keep it fast. There was a minute there, and of course we're super far away from down here at the finish line, but I couldn't tell if Finn unclipped it because he was pedaling so hard that he literally pulled his foot out of his pedal. Consolation Elite Women in the gate right now. We're going to have Kaylee Skelton on the blue course with a .18 advantage over Martha Gill. This will determine who comes home with third and who comes home with fourth, all decided on one run. And they're on the course. Gate down, riders on course here. Run number 2, the battle for that final step on the podium and a bronze medal. Will it be a former champion? And as I say it, the former champion has a huge bobble on the crux turn of that right lane. Kaylee's been hard on the pedals all day. I mean, shout out. She has brought the horsepower in every single trip down the track.
That is exactly what she needed to do, and it has paid off. So your number one qualifier will have to settle for a bronze medal, but the RE Bikes ride of Kaylee Skelton will be the final rider on the podium. Gil into the number 4 spot as we go back to the top for our elite men's consolation. Dylan Maples needs to make up .263 of a second on the multi-time dual slalom national champion of Luca Cometti, the Canyon Bikes ride in the red lane. Pivot Factory Racing in the blue on course.
Dylan is throwing himself into those corners in the top half, and he's coming out with a lead halfway down the course, which is incredible. He has been so aggressive on the top half of that course all day.
And he's done the exact same thing on these lower 2 corners. Luca Cometti really needs to dig deep. He's only got 0.2 of a second. How about that dust plume drifting into Luca's lane? And it's not gonna happen. Dylan Maples, our Cinderella story, taking away that final step on the podium. Shout out NorCal.
My goodness, a little go-go gadget dust plume right in Luca's face there before the last 2 corners. Heck of a run there from Dylan Maples. Back up in the start gate. We're going to have just a minute before we get Jill Kittner and Ella Connolly out on course, but Jill Kittner is going to enter this race with the slimmest of an advantage of .13 of a second over Ella Connolly.
Well, let's just talk about that for a minute while we let these riders stage up in the gate, Tim, because we've mentioned this all day long going into the second run. Typically, the fastest seated rider will run on the blue lane on the second run, and we've seen them make up advantages all day long. Well, in this situation, Ella Connolly is in the blue lane. She's the lower seated rider. She also has the advantage in run number 1. So this is really going to be a tough battle for Jill Kittner to try and make up.
Mikey, here we go. Jill Kittner on the left lane. .13 of an advantage over Ella Connolly on the blue lane. Crowd, let's hear for these ladies. This is your final.
Just one more run to go for this 2026 Lifetime Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom, brought to you by Fox and Pink Bike. Right now, it is all about the blue lane. Ella Connolly is on a tear right now. Is she going to stand in the way of a 13th victory for the winningest dual slalom rider in history? Ella Connolly has a commanding lead right now. She has the advantage from run number 1. Cannondale rider, one more corner to go. Champion for 2026, Ella Connolly.
She's been on that bike all weekend long and hasn't made a single change. Ella Connolly, all the confidence in the world. Bring a bike, don't make a change, show up and get it done. Shout out to Jill Kittner, our winningest Sea Otter champion of all time. Wow.
Well, let's just say she's adding to another one of her almost 40 podium finishes here at the Lifetime Sea Otter Classic, showing exactly what it means to be a multi-time champion here in dual slalom. But unfortunately, it will be a silver medal for Jill Kittner. Huge shout out. Let's hear it one more time for the Cannondale rider taking home the win, Miss Ella Connolly.
Come on, crowd, you can do better than that. Our champion is Ella Connolly, folks.
Loving this amphitheater setup here at the 2026 Lifetime Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom, brought to you by Fox and Pink Bike.
I wish the crowd could feel that we feel your noise down here at the finish line. It's fantastic.
Well, I can tell you who's going to feel you on course. Our final run of the day, ladies and gentlemen. And we said we can hear you down at the bottom. We can feel you. I want our riders to feel you from the moment that gate drops. Right now, your number 1 qualifier, Nicholas Nesterov for RE Bikes, has to make up .456 of a second over our Cinderella story, Finn McDermott. Finn will be in the red lane. Nicholas Nesterov in the blue. Sea Otter Classic. Let's get loud. Let's keep the noise going. Dropping in. Final run. Sea Otter Classic Dual Slalom 2026.
And they are on course. Early lead on the blue course to Nick Nesterov. Finn McDermott, we said first run was chaos. Finn makes an error. It's already chaos here in run number 2. Finn McDermott putting the runner out, trying his hardest now. He's got half a second to play with. Nick Nesterov is not going to take no for an answer. He's going to get his second title. Nick Nesterov, and he almost loses it. Nick Nesterov almost throws it away in the last corner, but he has done it. Unbelievable. 0.45 of a second. He wins by 1.05. Nick Nesterov now your 2-time Sea Otter dual slalom champion. What a day here at the dual slalom.